Hey guys, it's your girl Jade Ashley, and I am finally back with a new video of when the beat drops. I know it's been a long time, but if you're interested in seeing my 5 hot beats in music of this week, then you know you have to stay tuned for more. Okay guys, so let's dive into this week's beats. And if you hear me sniffle, if I sound nasally, that's just because I came up with a cold, but that is not the fact. So we are going to dive into our 5 hot beats of music. And my first beat of this week, I have to talk about the BET Hip Hop Awards. I don't want to take too much time because I just thought the show was okay. So I'm just going to, briefly talk about some highlight moments. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is Gucci Mane's performance. He opened up the show. Gucci Mane, he's been out of jail. He's been killing it all summer. So he opened up the show, and then he kind of shared the stage, and Travis Scott, Quavo, and Young Thug come through because they did that song, Pick Up the Phone, which is pretty cool and stuff or whatever. I know that whatever that little microphone that Travis Scott be using, I need one of those. I need one of them. I could give me a hit single or two for that. But the next thing I'm gonna try to highlight is that this award show in particular was it showed a lot of Black pride. It's BET, so it's always Black pride, but I'm saying as far as with the whole police brutality thing that's going on and stuff like that. So two major performances that happened that night was Big K.R.I.T and Lecrae. They pretty much tackled the whole police brutality thing and stop abusing us and all of that. So those were very two important performances of the night. And Big K.R.I.T in particular, it was just so powerful, and it just had me just when I was watching him. Very, very, very well needed. Other than that, I have to talk about the ciphers. So I feel there's really no point in really watching the Hip Hop Awards other than for the ciphers. The ciphers are usually dope, but I have to say this probably is the first year where I just felt the ciphers was alright. Honestly, there was very few ciphers where I was so one big cipher, which I think was the first cipher of the night, was the whole state property one. And then everybody's sitting there rapping. You see Freeway and all of them, and then Beanie Sigel, he comes out towards the end, and I was yeah, I know Beanie Siegel's definitely about to come out, especially because he's kind of been in the news as of lately with the past couple of weeks with the whole Meek Mill and the Game beef and the diss tracks. And actually he released a diss track towards Meek Mill, whatever, he too old for the shit, I'm over it. But that was one cipher that was definitely talked about. Another cipher that I want to mention is the cipher that had Dave East and Young M.A. Y'all know me, I'm Brooklyn all day, I'm New York all day. I say this damn near every video. So, aside from them being from New York, repping New York and stuff like that, I do feel they're some of the dopest new rappers that's coming out of New York. Lyrically, they're dope. So I enjoyed their raps for the cipher that they were in. And then I think the funniest, but still the most dopest cipher was with Kevin Hart and Lil Wayne. So, Kevin Hart, he's really dead ass with this whole chocolate drop, his, rap alter ego, or whatever the case may be. So, it was him and Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne was dope too. I'm hey, Lil Wayne was getting it. I'm sitting there so I definitely enjoyed Lil Wayne's rap. And then, Kevin Hart, of course, he brought the funny. He definitely, stepped it up, because if you remember last year's cipher, he did the whole cast with the Husbands of Hollywood, and they had the best, cipher, even though it was funny and all of that. But the ciphers were not really hitting it for me this year without those select few, and that was about it. Other than that, I have to talk about Kendrick Lamar winning Lyricist of the Year, and I think that was the first award that was given out that night. And hands down, Kendrick Lamar, he definitely deserved it. I know To Pimp a Butterfly came out, I think that was 2015. To Pimp a Butterfly came out or something like that. 2014, 2015, 2014. So y'all know, one of those 2 years. I can't think right now. I'm in pain. But I think it's enough said. Kendrick Lamar, he's definitely one of the dopest lyricists of this generation when it comes to rap. He gets so much respect from the OGs and the up and coming, or the people that's been out the same amount of time as him. So no question, no doubt about that. Remy Ma and Fat Joe winning Record of the Year for All the Way Up. One reason why I felt this was a highlight is because, Remy Ma, she kind of, in an acceptance speech, she kind of talked about how, when she was getting out of jail, a lot of people told her she was going to do nothing, she was going to be nothing, that. Pretty much just bringing her down, especially given her past previous situation. But she shut up all the naysayers, the haters and stuff like that, and she's literally been on top, since she's been out. So it was dope to see them get awarded for that song, especially because that song literally has been getting the hit like all summer, and you know, I just felt like it was definitely well deserved. Other than that, I just want to end off talking about Snoop Dogg being honored. So I feel like Snoop Dogg definitely was deserving of his honor. He's been in the game for a minute. He's everybody's uncle, whether you're in music, outside of music. Like, just the music that he makes, his personality, the impact that he's had within. He's like part of hip-hop history. You know, that whole West Coast, East Coast, you know, Bad Boy versus Death Row. Like, he's part of hip-hop history. He's definitely made an impact within the music industry, and the fact that he's still around and does so. So, you know, I thought the award show was okay, and that's about it. So we're gonna move on to my second beat of this week, and I have to talk about K.R.I.T. So this week, K.R.I.T, he checked into rehab for depression and suicidal urges and stuff like that, which is very sad and really unfortunate. I remember a few weeks back, kind of like during my little Winnie Drops break or whatever, I remember him, he had like this little rant on Twitter where he was basically coming at rappers and just kind of talking about like how like the, you know, industry is like rigged, and how he's kind of like sick of the BS and like the features and all of this other stuff. And two rappers that he named in particular, was Drake and Kanye West. And of course, Kanye and Drake, they both were on their own perspective tours, but they kind of responded to it. But I don't think anybody in their mind kind of took that, okay, it might be something wrong with Cudi, because literally that rant on Twitter came out of nowhere. So he checked himself into rehab this week, and he had posted a message to his Facebook, and he said, "I am not at peace, haven't been since you've known me. If I didn't come here, I would have done something to myself. I simply am a damaged human swimming in a pool of emotions every day of my life. There's a raging violent storm inside of my heart at all times." And I mean, it's definitely understandable to kind of world, like, I'm not saying I'm on the level of like suicide or, you know, I don't know if I'm depressed sometimes. I might be depressed sometimes. Maybe not to that extent as he's speaking of. But, I mean, life is a bitch, nigga. Like, seriously. So, in a sense, I kind of feel where he's coming from. And I'm just happy that he's made the decision to get the help that he's needed. And I'm just hoping that he comes out better, you know, get himself right. Forget the music, put that to the side, because it's been a minute since we got some music from him. But put all that to the side, and I hope he just, you know, gets better. I mean, he's gotten a lot of support from a lot of his peers within the music industry. So I just want to say, K.R.I.T, I hope you get better. That's it. Like, I just feel like, I just have a feel like, just please, like, get better. Like I said, I've never been there, but, you know, we're gonna move on to the third beat of this week. And I have mentioned in my first one when I was talking about Snoop, I said the whole Bad Boy situation. So this week, the Bad Boy family reunion tour finally came to an end. So it was definitely one of the hottest tours of this summer. I had spoke about it when it was announced, and they've literally been all over, you know, in New York, Miami, Dallas, Toronto, like every major city within this country. They've pretty much, you know, been all over the place, you know, kind of like merging old school Bad Boy with all the classic artists, seeing everybody that we haven't seen in years come back on the stage and stuff like that, whether it was like Little Kim, Total, you know, Mace, who else? I saw some shows, Carl Thomas, 112, like just all of the greats. And you know, Bad Boy definitely was a part of that golden era of hip-hop and R&B. So, you know, they were all over the country. And not only that, but they had like artists that was kind of like associated with like Bad Boy in like certain cities that were bringing out artists. So I remember when it was in Atlanta, you know, they had like Young Jock, and then they had, because he was on part of Bad Boy South, you know, and then, you know, Gucci Mane. Gucci's been on a lot of people's stages. And then, you know, DMX was at a couple of shows. So, you know, I think it was pretty dope. I definitely feel like it was for the culture, you know, definitely something that was well needed. I know that Diddy has always talked about this for a minute. I feel like I've heard him talk about it way prior to 2016. So to actually see his vision come through, and like every day, you know, every night you'll go on social media, and you know, I've seen a couple of people that I know, they popped up at the shows. They got the little geo tags on Snapchat with the Bad Boy family, and I'm like, damn, I wish I was there. And you know, New York was one of the first couple of cities that they hit. But regardless of the fact, definitely a major tour that went down in 2016 for sure. And you know, it's only October, but we get towards the end of that year. But, well, into this year. But anyway, moving on to my fourth beat of this week, I have to quickly talk about Solange's new album, A Seat at the Table. Now, this literally came out of nowhere, and, you know, it all kind of had like an aha type of moment. So, like, the album's cover #1. It was a couple of weeks ago that Solange actually posted that album cover, just like as a photo. So, when I seen it, I'm thinking this is just like a regular photo of Solange. I'm like, oh, her hair looks great, her skin is great, she doesn't even have no makeup as far as I know, like, she just looks good. So then, you know, sometime last week she kind of like posted the track listing, so everybody's like, oh shit, Solange coming out with an album, and then the album drops. So obviously, you know, she's learning a thing or two from her sister, without a doubt, Beyonce. So, but yeah, other than that, I just feel like the album is dope. I'll be honest, I haven't listened to it every single day. Like, a lot of people, I feel like they're going a little bit overboard, but I did listen to the album like at least 3 or 4 times, and I will say my first initial listen of it, I definitely feel like this album is a vibe, without a doubt. Like, you just listen to it. Like, Solange, she's always been different. Her style is different. Just her demeanor is different. You know, when I think of Solange, I think of like vintage vibes, you know, 1960s, 1970s. Like, that's what I like about her. She's different. Like, she's not, you know, pretty much a slave to what's going on, but more so what makes her comfortable and what separates her. So, you know, definitely within the music, I felt like, you know, this was like a soundtrack that I feel like not only is it relevant to America today, but, you know, 1960s and 70s and stuff like that. You know, definitely an album that celebrates Black pride. You know, it's a lot going on in the country and stuff like that, and then when you hear like organizations such as Black Lives Matter, they sit here and talk about how like Black people was like, you know, racist and stuff like that. So, you know, she pretty much just celebrates that. I know Master P, he's like basically narrating throughout most of the album. Other than that, I know there was a skit from her mom, and also a skit from her dad, that kind of her dad, you know, kind of talked about back in the day when he dealt with like racism, and then her mother talking about, you know, just because, you know, I have Black pride, that doesn't make me racist. So, you know, I thought it was pretty dope. I can't say I love every song, but I feel like the way that the album is set up, it makes it easier for you to listen to every song. But if I had to pick my favorite songs off of the album so far is definitely Cranes in the Sky. Like, that's everybody's favorite song, but Cranes in the Sky, definitely. Mad, which is featuring Lil Wayne, Don't Touch My Hair, FUBU, For Us By Us, and yeah, those are my favorites as of right now. But definitely, if you guys did not check out Solange's album yet, I would definitely recommend it. I just named a few of my favorite songs. I wouldn't say, you know, jump in and listen to those songs right away, but I'll definitely say listen to the whole project from start to finish, because it's dope. It definitely is, and I look forward to learning more and falling in love with more songs from the album. Now we're going to move on to my fifth beat of this week, and I have to talk about Miss Toni Braxton. So this is real short. Toni, she was in the hospital this past week. She had a lupus flare, and like literally it kind of like scared a lot of people, especially because, you know, she was kind of, I think they said she was like in like serious condition or something like that. And, you know, for years a lot of people didn't know Toni was battling lupus. I think up until I personally didn't realize or know about it until Braxton Family Values came out. So I think around that time, if probably a little bit before, the show premiered on WeTV, you know, we kind of learned about her sickness. So for me, I feel like Toni, like, she's definitely, of course, definitely a hard worker. You know, Tamar, of course, Toni B. Braxton, living legend. And, you know, I feel like she's definitely rightful of that title, because, you know, sometimes you forget that she has lupus and stuff like that. You know, she's always, you know, always filming, you know, always working on new music. You see her on social media, that you forget that this lady, you know, she has lupus. But, you know, yeah, she was in the hospital. A lot of people sent their praise towards her, you know, hoping that she gets better. And since then, we all heard that she's, you know, out of the hospital and she's preparing to go on tour. Like, I'm like, girl, I'm hurting right now. I don't feel good. I am sick. And I was questioning if I wanted to do this video, but I'm like, if Toni could sit here, have a lupus flare, get out and get ready for her tour, I could sit here and talk to y'all, because it's been a minute. But other than that, those are my 5 hot beats of this week. Okay guys, so I want to thank you for tuning in to this week's video. And of course, it's no different. I have to end every single video by reminding you guys to comment, like, subscribe, and share. It would greatly be appreciated. Unfortunately, I have no notes to leave you guys with this week. But of course, you know, I have to end my video by giving you my song of the week. And I was thinking real hard about this one, I promise y'all. But my favorite song that I keep waking up to in the morning time, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Eminem, I don't know. It's A-M-I-N-E with the accent over it. And he has a song called K.R.I.T. And I first heard the song from K.R.I.T here on YouTube. I can't remember if it was on one of her videos or if it was on Snapchat. But she was playing this song and she was singing along to it. And she was like, this is my song. So lately I've been falling asleep with like my television on. And like I'll go to sleep with like MTV2 on because I know they start playing videos, so I can hear the music in my sleep. So like one morning, like maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, no, not 3 o'clock because it starts at 4 o'clock. So like maybe like 5 o'clock or like 6 or something, like just real early in the morning, I had woke up and I heard the song, and I like literally woke up out of my sleep and I looked at my TV like, this is the song that J-Lo was, you know, talking about. So then like ever since then, like that's like seriously been my song. So that definitely has to be my song of the week because that's been one of the songs that I've been thinking about or listening to, I should say, throughout my whole little break or whatever the case may be. So what I'll do actually is I'll post a video to my YouTube channel, to my blog. So you can find my blog at www.jade-ashley94.blogspot.com. Other than that, once again, I want to thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again in my next video. So bye. Hey guys, thank you for watching, and don't forget to share and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.